let's talk about diminished chords. But first, I want to mention that a lot of the stuff that I cover here is inspired by the teachings of Barry Harris, and also very much inspired by metaharmony. Actually, much of the stuff that I'm talking about in this video is really just me giving new terminology to a key metaharmony concept. So I'm really just relabeling stuff. And I will try to give my reasons for that. So if you're not hip to Tom Glazebrook and his ideas, go check out the Metaharmony YouTube channel. It's definitely worth it. Okay, so let's start out by looking at the 3 diminished chords. They each have 4 pitches that are not in common with the notes of the other diminished chords. So here on this little diagram, the notes go up chromatically counterclockwise. Now, diminished chords are symmetrical. They're different from a lot of other chords in that any one of the notes can be considered the root. So this chord could be called G diminished, could be called B flat diminished, E diminished, or C sharp diminished. And to me, that just feels really clunky and not clean for communication and organization of thought. So I think it's a good idea to have a name for this diminished that doesn't require you to arbitrarily pick a pitch by which to call it. My terms for doing this are earth, wind, and fire, like the band named after the trio of elements. So each diminished gets named after one of the elements, and they go up chromatically in that order: earth, wind, fire, earth, wind, fire, etc. Doesn't matter how we orient this circle or which element we start on, the next note up will be according to that order. After wind comes fire, then earth again. So that's that. You can pause the video and study this for as long as you need, because we're about to do a quiz. Okay, here we go. G is a note from which element? If you answered wind, you would be correct. How about E flat? E flat is an earth note. Which element is A flat? A flat is a fire note. Okay, true or false? F is an earth note. False. And what element is B? B also belongs to fire. Okay, so how did you do? It's okay if this seems weird to you at first, but just the same way that you learn all the notes in the key of 3 flats, I think it's useful to just know all the notes in the earth diminished, or just know all the wind notes by memory. To me, it seems much more easy to memorize this than to memorize something like all 7 notes in each of the 12 major scales. Okay, so moving on to the next thing. Something cool about these diminished chords is that you can combine notes of them to get other types of chords. For example, if I take 2 earth notes, C and A, and if I take these 2 wind notes, E and G, then I get this chord. Nice, soft sound, right? Maybe you call it C major 6, maybe you call it A minor 7. For right now, doesn't matter what we call it. We just need to know that it's a mixture of earth and wind. So what is that? What can we call a chord made from a mix of wind and earth notes? Well, my thinking is that wind erodes earth, so what if we call it sand? And then on our diagram, we can put sand in between those 2 elements. And the same for the other combinations of elements. If wind puts out a flame, you get smoke, and melting rock makes magma or lava. So that's what we can call these secondary elements: sand, smoke, and lava. So if I play this chord, what secondary element is that? Well, we have 2 fire notes, and we have to wind notes. So that would make it a smoke chord. All right, I think that's enough to give you for now. You can study that and see what kind of chords you can make when you combine notes of elements like this. Now that we've covered all of that, I want to make clear that this idea is really just a reimagining and relabeling of what metaharmony calls the color wheel. It works exactly the same. And really, to be honest with you, the color wheel is better in certain ways. The reason I wanted to come up with this different terminology is because I have my own color associations to each pitch's letter name. So to me, the color wheel thing is simultaneously logical, elegant, and very much confusing. But again, that's not for any fault in logic of the way the model works. It's just a personal reason. So the reason that I'm making this video is twofold. One, in case you also happen to be a synesthete or, have your own color associations and therefore new color codings would be confusing to you, then you can use this version of the diminished wheel model instead. Reason number two is because in subsequent videos, when I'm talking about weird theory and I need some terminology for diminished chords, I'm going to be using these terms, not the metaharmony color wheel terms. So I guess this is just to catch you up so you're not confused when that happens. All right. With all that said, I strongly recommend going and checking out the metaharmony channel, which I will link in the description.